Hello there everyone and welcome, it is Niran here, and today is time for me to bring you something very different on this channel. This is Formula Bitesize, a new series that I'm going to be bringing to the channel, hopefully weekly. Very impromptu this, I don't know how I'm really going to develop things. I want to try and really make it bigger than it is right now, but the basic premise of the series really is that I'm going to talk about stuff that happens to be in the news regarding like single-seater racing, not necessarily just Formula 1. I can talk about it and I can get you guys' your opinions as well in the comments section, or maybe even do videos where I can live stream and talk to some of you about it and actually discuss this type of stuff. If it's something that you guys want to see, then of course let me know in the comments section. It's going to be quite newsy, to be honest with you. It's just going to be covering topics that are happening in Formula 1 in real life and me just giving my thoughts on them. So if that's something you want to see, then let me know in the comments section and I'll make sure to carry on doing it. But I'm going to try and evolve it, maybe even talk to drivers in national championships and get interviews or something, because it links into what I want to do when I finish up uni, of course, being journalism. So I feel as if it's quite a good stepping stone to be able to do stuff like this and tell people that I can do stuff like this. But whatever the circumstance, that's not the point. Today's topic is GP2. Not just generally, but there have been some issues regarding GP2 recently in the last few years really that have been snowballing and becoming worse. So, general brief history of GP2. The inaugural season, of course, was in 2005, where Nico Rosberg won the championship. Stoffel Vandoorne is the driver that's won the most races in the championship, and it's a championship that is designed to be an official feeder series for Formula 1. So basically, young drivers can hone their skills in GP2 and then make the step up to Formula 1 once they're ready and once they've proven themselves in maybe slightly slower and less powerful cars. There's been a number of drivers' champions over the years that have then made it into Formula 1 and even won championships in Formula 1 as well, namely being Lewis Hamilton and of course Nico Rosberg, who won that inaugural season. And some of the main teams involved in GP2 include ART, DAMS, Racing Engineering, and also Carlin. So the real issue that I'm wanting to address when it comes to GP2 at the moment is that there's simply not enough GP2 drivers making it into Formula 1 straight away. There's a few drivers that have made it recently that have won a GP2 championship or been a runner-up, but it's taken them a few years to get into Formula 1 afterwards. But when it's an official feeder series, you shouldn't have to have a situation where a driver is winning the championship and then just isn't getting a seat in Formula 1 either ever or within 2 years of actually winning the championship. Now, for those that don't know, there is a rule regarding GP2 whereby if you win the championship, you can't actually feature in the next season. So, for instance, Stoffel Vandoorne won the GP2 championship in 2015. That meant that he wasn't able to compete ever again in GP2. So, the problem with that rule is, I like the idea of the rule is that it means that you can't defend a championship, and it means that a new flock of drivers can instantly come in and try and challenge for it and then prove themselves. But the problem is when there's not enough seats in Formula 1, it means that drivers are starting to get cast adrift, and that's what's been happening in recent years. Between 2005 and 2011, all but one GP2 champion made it straight into Formula 1. They were promoted immediately. The only driver that didn't was Giorgio Pantano in 2009 or 2008, I think. No, yeah, 2008, because Hülkenberg won it in 2009. So Pantano was not promoted, and I think the main reason for that was that he'd already raced in Formula 1 prior to that. So any driver that was a rookie, that would have been a rookie in Formula 1, immediately found themselves a seat in F1 the season after winning. Rosberg won in 2005 and went straight to Williams. Hamilton won in 2006 and obviously went straight to McLaren. Hülkenberg won in 2009 and went straight to Williams. And in 2010, the champion, I do believe, was Pastor Maldonado. So every single champion between those years was promoted immediately. But there's been a different trend since 2012, and in fact, no driver between 2012 and 2016 has immediately been promoted to Formula 1 after winning a GP2 championship. There have been drivers that have made it into Formula 1, but just not the same season. Davide Valsecchi won the championship for DAMS in 2012 and didn't feature in Formula 1 whatsoever. I do believe he got a test drive for Renault, but since then has just become a pundit commentating, ironically, on GP2. Even more sad than that is 2013 champion Fabio Lima, who didn't even get a shout at a Formula 1 seat and has since ended up in Formula E. In fact, there's been more GP GP2 graduates end up in Formula E since 2014, that being 16, than GP2 graduates have found themselves in Formula 1 in the same time period. In 2014, the GP2 champion was Julian Palmer, and yes, he did manage to get a seat in 2016, but he did have to wait a year due to that GP2 rule of not being able to defend your championship, and he was a test driver for Renault during that period. 2015 champion, and arguably the most talented out of any of the champions we've seen in the last few years, is Stoffel van Dorn. He didn't get a drive for McLaren straight away, although he did feature in one race in Bahrain for McLaren when Fernando Alonso was out injured. He spent a year in Super Formula and obviously will return to Formula 1 for this year, but the main thing is there should be a guarantee that if you win the GP2 championship, the official feeder series for Formula 1, you should get a seat straight away in Formula 1. And the same thing is going to be happening for Pierre Gasly, who recently announced that he was going to be driving for Honda in Super Formula, the same championship over in Japan that Stoffel van Dorn competed in during the 2016 season, with a view to then driving in Formula 1 under the Red Bull umbrella in 2018. And carrying on with the trend of 2016, where Pierre Gasly won the championship for Prema Power Team, unless Antonio Giovinazzi or Jordan King get a drive at Mana, which could potentially happen, not a single GP2 graduate will make it onto the grid for the following season. So not a single GP2 driver will have been promoted from 2016 GP2 Championship to 2017 Formula 1 Championship, and that will be the first time that has ever happened in the series' history. Now, when things like that are happening, you've got to question whether it should actually be labelled the official feeder series, because if drivers aren't actually physically making it from GP2 into Formula 1, how can it even be considered a feeder series in the first place? It sort of undermines the whole system, and yet it could end up with literally the death of the series due to teams and drivers just simply not taking it seriously. We've ended up with a situation of it actually being the end game for drivers such as Alex Lynn, Mitch Evans, who have done well and won titles like GP3 in the past, but have got to GP2, found that they can't physically get a seat in Formula 1 because it's being given to drivers from Formula 3, etc., and they're not able to further their careers. They're going off to do Formula E and stuff like that. And you've got to say that people like Raffaele Marcello and Sergei Sirotkin could be in danger of the same fate if they don't win the GP2 championship this year. And this could, as I mentioned previously, seriously end up with teams and drivers just simply not taking the championship seriously. It almost seems like a hindrance to actually end up in GP2 these days, because it seems as if teams in Formula 1 are more likely to spot talent in Formula 3 and GP3, notice that they are raw diamonds in the rough, and take them instead of drivers that are slightly more experienced in GP2 and maybe haven't proven themselves as much as the younger drivers. Leading on from that, since 2012, Esteban Ocon, Daniel Kvyat, Max Verstappen, Kevin Magnussen, Carlos Sainz Jr. and Pascal Wehrlein have all skipped GP2 and gone straight into Formula 1, and once Lance Stroll makes his debut in Australia in 2017, he will also be added to that list. Now compare that list of drivers to the drivers that were immediately promoted from GP2 to Formula 1 in the same time period between 2012 and 2015. The drivers list is Guido van der Garde, Esteban Gutierrez, Max Chilton, Marcus Ericsson, Jolyon Palmer, Felipe Nasr, and Rio Haryanto, all of which combined have probably scored a maximum total of 20 points in Formula 1. Max Verstappen did that and more in his first Grand Prix for Red Bull, where he won the Spanish Grand Prix in Catalonia. So the problem that I'm trying to highlight is that it seems as if drivers that are being promoted from GP2 to Formula 1 are simply not having the same impact on the sport as the drivers who are simply skipping GP2. The likes of Ocon and Verstappen, Sainz Jr., Pascal Wehrlein, Lance Stroll all seem to be very exciting names and drivers who could genuinely win a championship in the future. That's not really something that could be said about the likes of Felipe Nasr, Marcus Ericsson and Jolyon Palmer. So, the question, I guess, is should this be stopped? Is this necessarily a bad thing? I mean, at the end of the day, you're still getting high-quality talent making it into Formula 1, but are you really getting it through the right means? Are you getting these drivers like Esteban Ocon and Lance Stroll going from Formula 3 to Formula 1 instantly, Should they be going through GP2 and making a name for themselves in a championship that's actually technically the official feeder series? Or should we just drop the fact that it's a feeder series completely and just say that drivers can come from anywhere? If it is going to be maintained as a feeder series, I feel as if there does have to be some sort of ruling put into place. I saw Danny Brennan post on Twitter yesterday that he thinks there should be some sort of scholarship program like they have with Indy Cars and Indy Lights, whereby I think if you win the Indy Lights Championship, you're instantly promoted to Indy Cars. It's something that the FIA would be able to do. I mean, when GP3 was first created, that was the program, where if you won GP3, you earned a test role with Williams, and that's how Valtteri Bottas ended up in the Williams drivers scheme. So maybe that's the way forward. Maybe the way forward is literally making it so that if you win GP2, you actually are guaranteed a seat in Formula 1, because otherwise it just completely undermines the whole process of having a feeder series if a guy wins a championship and doesn't even know whether he's going to end up in Formula 1 the next season, which is of course what he's aspiring to so much by simply even entering GP2 in the first place. So yeah, it's all been negative news, but I suppose one silver lining is that almost guaranteed gems of the future, Charles Leclerc and Anto Fuoco, have already been announced for the 2017 GP2 season, and you never know, they could be the first drivers since 2011 to actually win a GP2 championship and instantly get promoted into Formula 1. It does feel like a slightly petty argument to be having, because at the end of the day, if you're getting talented drivers in Formula 1, it doesn't really matter what the source is, but we don't want a situation where GP2 dies. That's the problem. GP2 is such an entertaining open wheel series, there's no way we can allow it to die. And I feel as if that is going to happen once teams and drivers actually start realising that they're probably more likely to get into Formula 1 via Formula 3 than GP2, which is technically meant to be the official feeder series. What I want to know though from you guys is your thoughts in the comments section, so if you could drop those down there below, whether you really are massively caught up on this issue or whether you don't really care at all. If you have enjoyed this video though and you like this new format of series, whatever it is, Formula Bitesize, then do of course feel free to smash the likes button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and comment about enjoying the video if you enjoyed it that much. It has been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a great day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.